So I'm going to be dealing with a whole bunch of things, but I want to open the landscape. I'm a spatial thinker, mainly because at school they told me I was as thick as a plank. Now, in this collective of suffering, in a monolithic system, it's mainly your women and children and aged suffer. If you go and look at that demographic populace, it is the majority. So that is why I want you to deeply understand it, because every day of your operations, while you're growing yourself, growing your business, there is always some Pinocchio over there to create beautiful roadblocks for you, beautiful ones. And the thing is, the system's been so entrenched for a good couple of thousand years that we do not, as beings, stand up and say, who said so? Because invariably, there's daft things happening on a daily basis that actually don't serve anyone. And unless you ask the question, you will never be a leader. A leader starts today when you walk out the door. As long as you're not hurting anyone, and you're giving of yourself, and you're giving of your best, you are a leader, and we are going to redefine the landscape. Today, when a woman births, and you can have 5 degrees behind your name, you will automatically lose 28% of your salary to your male counterpart for life. That book that you have in your bags today is a book that you will read daily for the rest of your life, because once you know it backwards, you're going to hand it on. You cannot fail if you've got that book in any field of your endeavors. So, where the roadblocks are, instead of the stationary, know why you're there. It was your thinking, predominantly, your pity parties, do you know what I mean, at the roadblocks, where you're commiserating with yourself instead of grabbing what's available to you in knowledge, because knowledge comes in all sectors, and investing in you instead of the pity party. Anyway, getting back to the system. Monolithic system is what happens still globally. So, you do know the earlier runs of Emily Pankhurst and her suffragettes, the Maggie Thatchers of the world, etc., were our open sesame. But the bottom line is monolithic behavior still exists today. That is why we've got what we've got globally right now. When a system starts to fail, it goes in a domino effect. And the direct correlation is directly through a few pointers, namely women's birth control. All of a sudden, women had the power to be able to say, I'm not having another dependent. That means they could be unlocked into the fiscal and actually start earning a living. So your birth control, you're getting a bit of education. You also got a bit hurtful. There were a few of us running around, well, luckily more than a few, to go and activate. And by the way, I'm not a feminist, because a feminist implies that there is a hatred of the male. I love men to death. Remember how many times I've been married? 3. Right, dysfunctional leaders. Do you recognize any of this? If you've got bosses that don't want to listen and they talk from the top down. By the way, all of these bosses are currently falling. Their results are bad. Internationally, any company that has women on their excos, in other words, their senior management, are outperforming patriarchal leadership companies 2.6%, up to 2.6. So I mean 260 times. That's pretty impressive, isn't it? So you get an absence of trust. How many of us in our lives have been too scared to tell our bosses the truth? Who's seen arrogance and ego? Let me see your hands. That is the vast majority. When somebody gives you a captaincy, and the three great religions tell you absolutely God is a male. All men collectively that rise think they who? God. So it's no wonder they're arrogant and they fire only on ego. When they get home, even if they are souls to their wife says, oh, hello, my gorgeous one. Do you know what I mean? Because she knows where the bread and butter are coming from. And she knows if she doesn't do that, she's replaced with a little slip of a secretary, isn't she? By the way, that's happened to me a few times too. So girls, I can really recommend, especially with the new generation, us older girls, as we stood up, our own husbands either ran away or had affairs. They couldn't deal with it simply because they want to be the boss. They want to lever out whatever they want to lever out. And that doesn't mean all men. It's capex like that. That's the way it comes through. That's the bottom line. Fear of conflict. So in other words, you're not even allowed to challenge the point, even if you can see that the business, through his action, is going to go down the tubes. You will be too scared to challenge that. Now, ladies, I can give you some tips over here. Sometimes one has to use a little bit of psychology with the last of these standing clever Trevors. Do you know what I mean? Because they affect all of us. And as I said, some of us just stand up to them. But we need the majority standing up right now. But the fear of conflict doesn't lead to a debate. And if you don't have a debate, you don't have two wings. And if you go up in an aeroplane with one wing, like a DC-9, they all came crashing down, even though it had two wings. The bottom line is life force is always about duality. For every day, there is a night. For every hot, there is a cold. A bird flies with what? Two wings. If you've got a bird with one wing, it's a crippled bird. We're in a matriarchal age now. That doesn't mean we go and beat up our male counterparts. But what I'm saying is you've got to address it in your organizations, which you have to. The result of this unbalanced leadership is what we're currently seeing now. Low fiscals. Have you seen big collapses? We're not talking about Enron and those type of things. We're long past those. Look at the big collapses coming up. We've lost 100,000 jobs in 3 months, January, February, and March, with more to go. These are your old systems falling. Have you seen the mining sector? That's the boys' club. Had they had some of you in their institutions, their labors wouldn't have got to what it is today. Militant, and they don't care a damn, my dear. It's bring it down. They're not thinking of the consequences. Unhealthy organizational culture. How many of you go to work, da-da, oh, baby, what a beautiful day. I can't wait to be there. I'm so motivated. If you're not going to work like that, there's something wrong in the culture. So, you know, the Forbes list that was posted in last year, in 2012, said absolutely irrefutably, it only makes business sense to have women in leadership. So you can go and look at all these statistical analysis. It creates a paralysis, but pretty much from Oxford, Cambridge, Stanford, Regenesys, any higher learning institution, they have realized now the malady of their ways, and it is about team, together we all achieve more, balance, so we don't have unhealthy outcomes, and women are very, very resourceful. It's not just your odd ad that you might see for like woman first. Well, your premiums are cheaper, girls, because you drive better. Do you know what I mean? It's not just about that. You drive better, you fly better, you educate better. Women post higher results in higher learning institutes than any male counterpart. Out of 16 faculties of top business attributes, women won all of them. Have you understood you've got it within you? It's just getting the psychology right to know that if you still have the victim mentality within you, people operate largely on 5 senses, but you're born with 6, they will feel it. And then they start the picking party. Do you know what I'm saying? And you don't need that. So get it into your veins, and then you won't find that happening. And by the way, also, I'm here today out of love, because Regenesys does give a lot away for free. And that is why I'm here. And I know why you're here, because all of you are simply going to do way better than all of your counterparts because you bothered. So as part of your equipment with your partner, your husband, your business associates, always let them know, if we work together and we fly together, indeed flight will be lofty and we'll all achieve more. Okay, if we've got a positive balance now, what can we look forward to? Positive fiscal, healthy organizational culture, which means we're going to want to go to work. Obviously, happy people. And the best of all, a fully sustainable business, not the limp along. By the way, most men in senior positions still hire men. Do you know that? Irrespective to what degrees you've got. Did you know that? That might get some of you upset if you've never felt it and you're up for a promotion. Do you know why that is? Women often don't ask and they don't put themselves up for the post. Some of the other things is they don't let their seniors know when they're birthing. Do you know that? A lot of senior positions can't be taken up because of the fear of the exco of women being off on maternity leave. They think your brain just falls out when the baby's born. One of the most important things I feel in getting the health of your organization going and also your team is by picking people with better characters. If you pick weak people around you to work with, you become weak. Competence. How many of you head a department and got to do an execution plan and you delegate? You're delegating invariably to people of higher learning, and sometimes there's a failure rate to that implementation. Do you know why? Because a lot of people say, well, I've got the job, cock you. That's not a good thing. So competency and execution is very, very important who comes into your team. The habit of persistence is the habit of victory. Okay, in closing, I'm just going to read to you something very tiny, which is my favorite. There's at least 8 of you that have heard this before, but this should be in your toilet, next to your bed, and everywhere, because this is your open sesame, by Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are we not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve this world.